Would the commissioners please check in? Good evening. I would like to call to order the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners Committee of the Whole meeting for September 25th, 2024. Clerk, can we please have roll call?
1 presiding, 9 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. For the record, please show that Commissioners Mankins and Morgan are excused tonight. Commissioner Sorich, the prayer and the pledge, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which will greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is public comment on any items on tonight's agenda. If there are members of the public that would like to speak on an agenda item, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we will move on. For the report of the chair, I don't have anything to report. We have a fairly full agenda, a couple presentations and bid openings, so we'll just go ahead and move straight into the agenda. Section 1, bid openings, public hearings and or presentations. Item number 1, communication number 2024-429. John Sullivan, Government Buildings Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening for September 25, 2024 for the DX cooling system for the detention center. I've been notified that there was an issue with the bids, and we've been asked to put this on file and await a new communication. So Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I would like to note and place communication number 2024-429 on file.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to note and place on file communication number 2024. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion carries. Motion carries. Item number 2, communication number 2024-430. Angie Mullican, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening on September 25th, 2024 for the Centerville Retaining Wall Reconstruction Project. We've got Mr. Gleason here. County Attorney Fyvie, is there proof of publication?
Madam Chair, there is proof of publication, and it appears to be in order.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Shea, Commissioners, it looks like there's 3 bids tonight. The first one is from Custom Construction out of Butte.
Madam Chair, there is a bid bond that has been posted in the amount of 10%, and it appears to be in order.
The bid for this is $352,355. That's $352,355.
Construction's bid is $352,355. Thank you.
The next bid is from Montana Materials and Construction out of Helena, Montana.
Madam Chair, there is a bid bond posted for this one as well, representing 10% of the bid, and it appears to be in order.
Thank you.
The total estimated bid price for this is $496,000.
Okay, Montana Materials bid is $496,000 even.
Correct. And then the last bid is from Langlis and Associates out of Butte.
Madam Chair, there is a bid bond posted in this case as well, representing 10% of the total bid, and it appears to be in order.
Thank you.
The bid for this one is $446,221. That's $446,221.
Okay, Langlis and Associates bid is $446,221. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gleason, do you have a engineering estimate for this work?
Yes, Madam Chair and Commissioner Anderson, the engineering estimate for this is $358,000.
Thank you.
Do any other commissioners have questions for Mr. Gleason? Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I would like to make a motion to refer communication number 2024-430 back to Public Works for a recommendation back to this body.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to refer communication number 2024-430 to Public Works for their recommendation. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? One more, Callahan. Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion carries. 0 nay, motion carries. Item number 3, communication number 2024-440. Karen Burns, Community Development Director, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening for September 25th, 2024, related to the Granite and Main streetscape improvements. County Attorney Fyvie. Is there proof of publication?
There is proof of publication on this communication, and it appears to be in order.
Thank you. Director Burns.
There we go. Looks like we have one bid. It's from Montana Materials Construction, P.O. Box 5960 out of Helena, Montana. Madam Chair, there is a bid bond on this one representing 10% of the total bid, and it appears to be in order.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The amount of the base bid is $220,196. $196,000.
Okay, so Montana Materials bid was $220,196.
Correct.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much. Do you have an engineering estimate for this project? Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. My colleague in the back was looking it up, but I do believe it was around $330,000. I don't have the exact amount in front of me, but I believe it was over $300,000.
Okay, thank you, Director Burns. Commissioner Anderson.
And you mentioned the base bid. Was there any amendments to this?
No, there was not.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Thatcher.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to refer communication number 2024-440 back to Community Development for a recommendation back to Council.
Second.
Right, there's a motion and a second to refer the bid to Community Development for their recommendation back to this body. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please? I think Commissioner Callahan needs a new battery. Okay. Commissioner Callahan votes in the affirmative. Clerk, would you please record the vote?
Ten yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay. Let the record show Commissioner Callahan voted. Callahan voted by voice. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to presentations. Item number 1, communication number 2024-411. Kelly Katani, MSU Extension, Butte-Silver 4-H Youth Development, and FCS agent requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence for time on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024 agenda for a presentation on the impacts and programming of MSU Extension, Silver Bow County 4-H for the budget year 2023-24 and give a plan for the 2024-2025 programs. Ms. Katani.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Well, first, I'd like to just take a second to introduce myself. My name is Kelly Katani, and I have actually served as the Butte-Silver County Extension Agent through MSU for the last 8 years. And so we've had a lot of changes that have happened in those 8 years. So originally, it had been a horticulture-based position. And as you guys may notice, that my position is very different from that, and it is Family Consumer Sciences and 4-H. There we go. And so we have a lot of programs that are newer to our community, and I work with a lot of different partners than previous extension agents have. Okay. So just to kind of give you guys an idea for tonight, just a little bit on our mission of extension, I'd like to just share with you guys some of the impacts that we've made in the community with the Family Consumer Sciences Project, singling out the Harvest of the Months program, which is something that I actually just taught again today in the schools here in Butte-Silver. And then some 4-H highlights, and then pull out some basic highlights from that of the outdoor day, 4-H camp, and our fair, and then just share a small amount of what our next year is going to be looking like, or hopefully looking like. So basically, the extension program is Montana State University, and we then be able to bring information and research from the university level to the communities. So everything that comes out of my office is research or evidence-based programming, which is extremely important, and we have very updated materials that we get to share with the community as well with that. And that goes in hand with the FCS and the 4-H program, and a lot of people don't know that about the 4-H. So our programming is actually goes through a very rigorous process in order to be adopted at both the national level and or the state level. In our office here in Butte-Silver, I am the single agent in the county, and the only other person in my office is a SNAP educator, and so she teaches classes on nutrition education, both youth and adult programs for people that are eligible through income base. So people that have SNAP benefits, people on TANF, those eligible for WIC benefits, those type of assistance programs is where my cohort works, and then everything else that comes through the door goes directly to me. Okay. So our family consumer thing that's physical wellness, mental wellness, as well as nutritional wellness. I've added some new programs this year. One of the new programs that I've actually added is QPR, which is a suicide prevention program. And I've partnered with MCDC here in the community in order to offer that. And we teach it 2 different classes on the first Monday of every month. And the class numbers for that depend on the census for people that are residing at MCDC. Another new program is a cooking program within the library. So I work with Sherry Curtis. Once a month, I teach a basics cooking class in which kind of more focusing on how people can integrate more vegetables and a healthier diet into their program. This is a brand new program that we've just started, and we've had 3 months worth of it so far. Another brand new program to Butte-Silver is called a Memory Cafe, and we're working with the Springs and their Memory Center, as well as the Alzheimer's Association, in order to offer similar to a respite time for people that are caregivers for their loved ones that are working through early onset Alzheimer's and dementia. And so we meet once a month at the library, and we do programs that kind of help people just kind of get in touch with other caregivers along with their loved one, and they come in and do different programs. We started that in May, and I specifically have taught 2 of those lessons. The first one I got to do was actually partnering with Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and we brought in the education trunks that they have. And so some of those people got to actually touch some of the pelts, and we talked about different animals, and they really enjoyed just the tactile aspect of it. And that was in June. And then in August, we also did a photography unit. And so I was able to purchase, with funding through Butte-Silver, a Polaroid camera. And we took pictures of everybody that was there. And then they got to decorate a little photo frame to be able to take back to their to where they're living. Again, just very tactile type aspects. We've also participated with the Springs and Big Sky Senior Living for their Alzheimer's walks. Walk with Ease, I work with the health department. This is my 5th year working with the Butte-Silver Health Department, and we've done 2 different times this year. We offered one, we usually start in May and go through June, and then this year we added a second one based on interest from the community. And we have brand new people showing up for this fall one that we're still running, and we started it in August, and we'll run through the middle of October with that. And what we do is just laps around Stodden Park and gets people talking and gets people moving outside, and they've really enjoyed it. And we have one lady that has not missed a single one as a brand new person this year, so it's been really exciting to work with her and see progress. And then, like I mentioned, on the Harvest of the Month, and that one, make sure I have that right. There we go. I've been able to work with elementary schools here in Butte this year alone. My primary focus is West Elementary. That happens to be where my children attend. So I have a little bit of an in there. I also serve on the PTA there, so that helps as well. But I work with the PE teachers. Shelley McLaughlin has been amazing in bringing me into Kennedy. Today and yesterday, I was actually in Margaret Leary teaching lessons. And so Harvest of the Month is a focus on Montana-grown foods, nutritional values, and then we also add in an activity for them, and then they taste the foods. And for some of them, it's the very first time that they've tasted those foods. Today, we actually were working with brassicas, and yesterday. Brassicas are anything in the cabbage family, so cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. So they got to watch a little bit of a video for it, and then we did a game of matching. I had pictures of 6 different brassicas, and then they had a name set with it, and they had to match the names to the picture, and then they also then tried to categorize them based on what piece of that plant we actually ate. So whether it was the flowers, the leaves, or the stems on those ones. So it was a lot of fun, very active. And then they did a taste testing in which they all taste tested a broccoli tot. And so they seem to really like it, especially today's group. I think I had half of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grades today. And out of that entire group of kids, there was only 6 of them that did not like the broccoli tot. So a new way for them to eat broccoli. We've also, every kid in the 3rd through 6th grades at Kennedy, West, Margaret Leary, and Whittier have also participated in the beet lesson and tasted a beet smoothie. And so it's just a lot of fun. The kids, this is a picture of us at the school garden plant every year with the help of mostly the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And so this was us last year at the beginning of the school year going through the school garden before we went into a lesson on zucchini. And then they tasted zucchini chips. And part of that program does tie directly into my work. My primary focus of the county, which is the 4-H youth development piece. I come from an education background. I taught for 15 years in the high school before coming to Butte to become the extension agent. So I really enjoy working in the schools and working with the kids, and so that's been really my focus. So as we kind of look at the overall year, we had 99 youth enrolled in 44 different project areas this year. And almost all of those project areas then translated into fair projects, which was great. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the indoor stuff at the fair this year, but we had over 350 projects on the inside that were 4-H only. It was pretty exciting to see. One of the other things that I went through and looked at it today, and we had 48 of those 99 members were brand new to our program. Whether they'd been enrolled and not shown up, and this was the first year that they actually showed up, or it was their very first year ever enrollment. So half of our program was brand new kids this year, which is why we had such a growth in the projects, which was great to see. Of those, 65 of the 99 actually showed up to fair this year as well, and put together programs and projects for the fair. And then we had 27 volunteers. 5 of those were brand new volunteers to our program. And out of those 5, 2 of them don't even have kids in our program. They were just community members that had an interest in working with kids, went through our certification program and our background check, and were amazing at working with our youth. And so they started brand new projects in knitting and crocheting, as well as welding to bring to our kids this year. We also had some great new opportunities to work with new partners and new programs. So we added a bunch of new projects this year. Like I mentioned, the knitting and the crochet projects, as well as welding, were brand new leaders. But we also added hunting and wildlife, sport fishing, and renewed baking and robotics programs. And then we had projects that did not have leaders that the kids did on their own, such as food preservation. And so they learned completely new things about those programs on their own as well. We also, this was our second year doing the Youth Outdoor Day, and we had 4 new partnerships for activity tables within that, which was huge because I didn't approach any of them. They called me and asked to be a part of it. And some of them were local community partners, and other ones traveled to come and be a part of it. And then I'm really, really excited to be starting a brand new program in the school system that is a 4-H in the schools. We started it towards the end of last school year with Melrose. We know right now that Melrose doesn't have a teacher, and so we're actually now starting, as of tomorrow, I'll be in the Divide school. And so at least once or twice a month, I'll be in Divide and be working with their students all the way from K through 8 and do different 4-H related programs. The younger group, the K through 3, are all Clover Buds within our 4-H program, which just means that they're the ages of 5 to 8. And so they have a very specific set of programs that they can do. And then the 4th through 8th graders are going to do some stuff on learning how to knot tie, how to then lead that into sport fishing. The teacher out there is a rod builder, and so he's going to take that over in the winter time when I might not be able to make it all the way out there and build rods with them. Then we're going to come back in after the new year and start with wildlife and work our way into an archery program in which they've now been challenged by one of the other small schools in the county in order to do an archery competition with them. So pretty exciting things that are coming together. With our Clover Buds, we're going to focus kind of more on that harvest of the month type activity with healthy eating and fitness. Okay. Like I said, highlight a couple of big things that we did. So Youth Outdoor Day is in its second year. We do that on the 3rd Friday of May. And it was in response to there not being school, and we wanted to be able to provide a safe, healthy educational program for kids of all ages here in Butte-Silver Bow. And in our second year, we chose the weekend that was going to have the highest winds. We had 60-mile-an-hour winds during that event, and we still had 200 people show up that day. And we converged onto McGruff Park, where we had 13 partners, including the new ones that I had mentioned earlier. And so those new ones were Butte Cares, Montana Wild, 1590 Search and Rescue, and the AgriCorps that works out of NCAT. And they all offer different activities, different groups, as well as our 4-H program. In the pictures, that's actually our FWP bear specialist at the top, Danielle. She came in out of Livingston. And had amazing program on bear aware. Underneath that picture is our state outdoor specialist for the 4-H programs, Scott Francis, and he was teaching kids how to use compasses and moving around and finding different coordinates. And then the bottom picture is Brady Matt from Butte Cares, and they were teaching kids how to tie knots and made fishing hook necklaces with the kids. So the entire day is focused on outdoor education, and then we also added some extra sponsorships this year, which were really exciting. We partnered with Mystery Ranch Backpacks and Meat Eater out of Bozeman, and both of those donated areas for a new door prize. And then TDS Fiber was gracious enough to be able to supply us with money to be able to pay for lunch for anybody that attended that day. So we brought out our food truck with the 4-H and served a free lunch for everybody, along with Harrington Pepsi providing us drinks. So great community partners as well as just Southwest Montana partners. Next we had May, so then June we moved into 4-H camp. And this was our biggest 4-H camp that we've had since I've been here. We had 38 kids participate in camp this year. We had an overall theme of dinosaurs. And so, shockingly, the 9 to 12-year-old boy count tripled for us this year with the theme of dinosaurs. We did a lot of STEM activities. We did a lot of arts and crafts. We also do campfire cooking every year. And this year, because of certifications, we were also able to bring archery with us. And so we brought bows and taught the kids how to safely shoot bows at a target. Great experience for kids. We also had two other counties that partnered with us, Madison County and Jefferson County, and they brought a couple of kids that were really excited to come back this next year, to the point where they actually want to help us as teen leaders to help lead camp next year with the experiences that they had this year, which is really, really cool, because we haven't had partners since 2019. And then our Butte-Silver County Fair. Helping us lead that was our fearless leader, Commissioner O'Neill, with his gracious work with the fair, and we really appreciate everything that he did. We had a record turnout for our 4-H kids this year. I said 66 kids out of our 99 showed up at fair this year. Usually we're closer to 40%. So a huge increase. We did an award ceremony. We had almost every project. I can't think of any right off the top of my head that were not presented at fair. A lot of increase in like fishing and wildlife projects, as well as shooting sports projects, because those were some of our biggest numbers for increases. And then we also had a record sale. We had never had the numbers that we had, and we had a huge, tremendous community support that showed up for the kids at the fair, and just were there to really support them, bidding and not bidding, but just there to really support those kids, and they felt it, and they were so appreciative of everybody from the community showing up and cheering them on. Oop. So what is next? Well, next Tuesday is the start of a brand new, so we've got lots of new projects. We're starting off with volunteer training. All of our volunteers go through an orientation process, both online and in person. We also offer a new family orientation, in which we have found that everybody that attends the new family orientation stays with 4-H for at least 3 to 4 years, where families that don't tend to leave after the first year. They don't really ask the questions that need to be asked and stuff. And so new family orientation is huge. We're also offering carcass evaluation workshops for all of our kids that sold animals at fair. And our shooting sports leaders trainings, they've added more of those. Our shooting sports program has almost doubled in the last couple of years, which is huge. I myself am certified as a rifle leader. I serve as the leader for the hunting skills and wildlife. And this year I will also be adding archery to that certification list, so that I can help, and partly so that I can help teach it at the Divide School. I do have a teen leader that is homeschooled that is going to be coming with me to Divide to be teaching at the archery program as well. When it comes to our FCS trainings, we are adding a new program, again with partnership with the Butte-Silver Health Department, and it's called Staying Active in Life, and it's more of a balance and strength training program for older adults. This year, so with it being year number 8, I am also going through the tenure process through the university, and so I will be a tenured professor at the end of 2025. From MSU. Along with that, I also serve on the curriculum team for the state of Montana 4-H program, in which I am on 4 different committees to revise, rewrite, and or adopt brand new curriculums, including endorsements of new programs. And one of the ones that I am pushing really hard for this year, and am spearheading the adoption of, is a new sports nutrition program through the 4-H program, and helping kids to learn the correct way to eat, the correct way to exercise, and tying it back to the 4-H program with the record keeping aspect. So we'll see more of that at fair this year. I also serve on a national committee for curriculum and training for adult programs within the 4-H program called the Thriving Model, and it is the new model that is being endorsed through the National 4-H for Positive Youth Development. So, thank you guys all so much for letting me present to you today, and do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Ms. Katani. That was very, very good. I love to hear, I was a 4-H kid. I love to see, that was a long time ago too, by the way. So I really love to see what you're doing now, and the skills that the kids learn. I learned how to run a meeting in 4-H. So that's where I got my experience. I got my feet wet first with chairing a meeting and keeping minutes and doing all of those things. But the leadership skills that kids develop, the accountability, they learn about accountability, they learn about project management, they're accountable to each other, they're accountable to their leaders. So good job. And I don't know if do you have someone in this audience that you'd like to introduce, because she looks very, is she with you?
Yes, so
would you please
behind
introduce
me,
her?
Go ahead and come on up. This is
That's okay. I could tell you were part of the program, and I wanted to make sure you got introduced.
This is Ruth Ann Shope. She is one of our volunteers, and she currently chairs our shooting sports committee, and has been a huge advocate for our program. Both of her girls are in the program, but since Ruth Ann has come on as our shooting sports coordinator, we have doubled our leadership in the shooting sports program, and we've added rifle, air pistol, a new shotgun program, and the hunting and wildlife program just since Ruth Ann has been with us.
Thank you, Ruth Ann.
I'm just here to be the cheerleader.
Well, it's obvious that you're both very passionate about the programs, and Butte-Silver is very lucky to have both of you and anyone else out there that's listening that's helped with the programs and leading projects and whatnot. So I'm very grateful and look forward to the great things to come. Do any commissioners, Commissioner O'Neill? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kelly, thank you for everything you do, and great presentation. The fearless leader thing is actually a joke because you guys do all the work, so I appreciate it because it's always making me look really good, or the board itself, I feel, not just me, but great program, great kids. That's always my favorite thing about whenever we're at the events or at the stuff is great kids. Maybe they have their punkish ways, but most of them great, willing to work hard, help out. It's really good. And again, keep up the good work and appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner O'Neill.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shay, thank you, Kelly, for being here. You're 8. That's quite a commitment. I just had a quick question on your suicide prevention program that's at MCDC. Obviously, I think that's stellar, and I appreciate that. Do you think that there's a need for something like that within the public school system, that you could go into the school system, I guess, and have these conversations with elementary students, with middle school students, with high school students, maybe act as a resource to them in the same ways that you act as a resource to the folks at MCDC?
I
Ms.
would
Katani.
absolutely love to do that. I'm actually certified in youth mental health first aid as well, and taught that to a lot of teachers throughout the entire state. The former Toole County Extension agent and I were actually the first extension agents to do that program, and we stood alone in this state for 4 years before we got another extension agent that was trained in that one. So we traveled all over the state in the summertime doing teacher trainings. But I think it is extremely important in our school system to do some sort of suicide prevention program. There are programs in place, but I also work a lot with Butte Cares, so I helped them revitalize the tip manual this last year to get more current information into it for suicide prevention.
Thank you, Ms. Katani. Follow-up, Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shay. Just also a point, I shouldn't say just the public school systems, because it shouldn't just be limited to the public school systems, so including Butte Central. But I do appreciate that. So if there's something even, that I could connect with you on or anything like that, I would love to see that be something that we could delve into within this next year too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thatcher. Commissioner Swarich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I'm a strong advocate for 4-H. I believe it's one of the best youth community programs there is in Butte-Silver Bow. You know, it's some of these kids, they make lifelong friends. You know, they'll be friends for the rest of their life. And so I'm really happy to see that it's growing, but I'm sure it hasn't. It takes a lot of work from the leaders. You know, Kelly was hired 8 years ago. It was a very tumultuous time. It was a pretty tough time that, you know, she went through, and she's worked hard, and, you know, her help to really turn this program around to make it a real positive for our youths. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Commissioner Sorich.
Commissioner Fortune. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Commissioner Shea, Kelly, could you tell us how to become a youth leader?
The volunteer within our program?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the only requirements we have is a little bit of donation of time, and that's all dependent on the people and how much time you have available. And then we have a certification program with a background check. And then we go through, like I said, there's an online program for orientation that's actually run through the state 4-H program and developed by our state specialists and volunteers. And then I also then lead a community volunteer orientation so that people can be more familiar with our program standards and how we run meetings and what the importance of agendas and following those agendas and the importance of making sure that kids feel like they belong somewhere. Because that's one of the biggest things with 4-H is just making sure that kids feel welcome. And then we also strive to just find a spark in those kids with a project to keep them interested in 4-H and keep growing within the 4-H program. So a love of working with kids and a little bit of spare time.
Thank you, Ms. Katani.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about how we educate the next generation of elected officials, the children, and teaching them civics, which is, you know, not well known even to a lot of adults, how things work. So if I can be of assistance, or if you ever want to bring 4-H kids to a council meeting, and they can wander around up here and see what it's like, and I'd be happy to speak with them.
Thank you for that invitation. I really appreciate it. And I
Yeah.
know I have some kids that would definitely want to take advantage of that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That makes me really, really happy. So if there are no other comments from commissioners, I want to give you both my heartfelt thanks, and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Okay, item number 2, communication number 2024-437. Linda Sager-Joyce, Clerk and Recorder, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to do a brief update to Council on September 25th, 2024, regarding the findings of the recount and discuss possible upcoming legislation that will help future elections, auditing, and canvassing. Clerk and Recorder Sager-Joyce. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. For the record, I'm Linda Sager-Joyce. I'm the Clerk and Recorder for Butte-Silver Bow. This will be very brief. This is still a moving target with the state legislature. Every week it changes what they're focusing on. I'll start with a little background on what happened. Since our recount we did in August, I've been working with the State Select Committee who came in to see what was happening here, because this was seen as a very serious issue. They focused on looking at several different things that happened with our election, and one of the things they found is the lack of legislation to help address issues that can happen in an election. It's very complicated. They found out very quickly as they observed at the recount how things aren't in place to help identify issues and how to get them solved in the small time frame. They looked at lots of different things with this. They looked at us going to hand counting an election, all the way to helping provide better tools. so that we could recount elections in different ways. As things progressed and they processed how things were happening, they saw that one of the things that was a weakness, if you will, was that during the canvass of an election, that the only option for the recount board, which is our Council of Commissioners, is for you to hand count an election, recount the whole thing by hand. And they saw that that may not be a good idea, especially in a bigger county, because we could be talking about weeks. So one of the things I suggested they do is, as legislation proceeds in this next calendar year, that there be better options for the recount board, along with training on what to look for in a canvass, and not just take what the election administrator is saying, how you can actually do some better analysis on looking at the numbers without having to say, yeah, we need to recount this, and I'm available for the next 2 weeks to spend hand counting that election. One of the things I've suggested they look at is giving the commissioners the ability to have a team available, like we did at the recount, who could work through that process with you, and also be able to use the tabulators to get a better idea of what had happened during that election. Like I said, they've been all over the place. Every week they're focusing on something different. I am talking to the committee again on October 10th about some questions they had about the recount numbers. Mostly it has to do with, at this point, what they want to look at is if the numbers that got left in the tabulator, but they weren't really in the tabulator, it was at the reporting laptop, were just test deck numbers, why did it flip the county attorney race? And the reason for that was the test deck was a random voting, and in that test deck, there were just more test votes for one candidate than what were actually in the actual election, and that's what flipped that, if that made any sense. It was just test deck numbers. They're random numbers that the people that create the test deck just picked and voted, is really what it was. So they're looking at things, and they're taking this very seriously. I think we're going to see legislation introduced that will help provide recount boards throughout the state better tools, so it's easier to get to, we need to recount this and look at this deeper, to allowing election administrators better tools as well, so that they can identify things and open things without going to a court and saying, I need to have these open so we can figure out what happened. And I think that was why it took so long to get to where we had to, because we were trying to find things we could do without going to the judge and saying, we need to unseal these things, because so many things are sealed that we can't use as tools, so we're guessing at what happened. But I think at the end of the day, there'll be better support for the election administrators to open things and let them see what is there, so that they can get to helping you say this needs to be recounted. Right now, things are just too restrictive, I think, to get there. So hopefully, we will see that legislation moving forward into the general. We are re-looking at how our processes work, what the state requirements are for processes, and the clerk and recorders across the state are looking at standardizing how we do reconciliation, so it's easier for us to say, this is the things we need to focus on in the reconciliation process, and that we have something more standard, and that we're not afraid to say there's a problem. I think this will all lead to better election processes. What it means for us specifically in the general is I have to have people doing different things. We need to have a better group of people, not a better group, but we need to have more people working on the reconciliation and making sure we're hitting all the points so that when we are looking at, say, absentees, we know how many absentees we sent in to be tabulated and how many there are once we've opened secrecy envelopes, and what we've rejected out of there, so we know what's going into the tabulator, and we know what's coming out of the tabulator, and from the tabulator we know what's going into the reporting computer, to make sure all those points where the numbers are checked properly. That's what I think we're lacking in the primary. Again, it was an issue of not enough people, and I hate to say that, but it really is not having the people where we needed to have the people. Out in the polling place, we didn't have enough judges for ballot box, and if we, it was a problem in that we didn't have enough ballot box judges, but the polling places were ran pretty well, so there wasn't an issue there. Doesn't mean that won't happen the next time, especially in a primary, especially if we continue with having a closed primary where ballots need to be in a certain box. We're always off one or two, and it's usually just because somebody accidentally put a ballot in the wrong box. But luckily we've been able to minimize that. But if we had more judges there at that point, then it should be perfect. This time it was a problem with absentees and not having enough people to help process the ballots. We actually, at the end of the night, ended up calling people to say, can you come in and help? We had 2 judges to process all that, so we were able to get more people to come in that night to help us do that. What this means going to the general is slow results. In the 2023 legislature, there was legislation was that we had to report every 3 hours, beginning at 8 p.m. And so while we were trying to compensate for that and make those reporting deadlines, we missed things because we had to scramble to do something else. I definitely need to have more people on that backside. I have judges who end up sick the next day and for several weeks after because I have pushed them to the limit. And so I need to do a better job getting those judges recruited and being able to do the work that we need on the backside of that. Like I said, I am meeting with the Select Committee again on October 10th, and we'll see what other things they are looking at. But I am to the point where I have to say, enough. I have to get the equipment ready for the general, and we just have to move on. So, and I'm hoping that we're to that point with the committee. They're fine with where we ended up with our recount. It's just, I think, as they process through how complicated the election process is and all those parts, they're looking at all the what ifs that can happen in an election and how do we prevent that. But we need to focus on, we have to move forward and get ready for the general election. So if anyone has questions.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sager-Joyce. I just want to get a couple of clarifications from you. You and your office requested the court order, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to kind of correct the record because I've heard other things said that aren't that, and that is the truth. So thank you for that. What procedures have you implemented specifically around where the error originated to make sure that that same error doesn't get repeated?
The procedures were there. We just skipped it. We missed it. Okay. The procedures that we are using since I've been in office is we need to know, we need a count. We need a factual count of how many ballots we're processing on that absentee side. We can do reporting that tells us how many we've accepted. Mm-hmm. And by accepted, I mean how many of those absentee ballots have a signature that we verified. But once we open those absentee envelopes, and we're now opening the secrecy envelope, what's in that secrecy envelope? No ballot. In a primary, did they vote all their ballots? And now we don't know which ballot we're supposed to count. So there's the reject thing that happens that we had focused on making sure we had a good count there of what we're rejecting. So we had a better idea of what was going into the tabulator. So the processes we've added since this recount is we want to know how many ballots they're taking in at the tabulator based on this ballot processing count, but we also need to know what's coming out of the tabulator. What are we sending to resolution board to count? And so following that trail of ballots, it's actually just making sure we have better documentation of the paper trails, what ballots are going in and where they're going in to. And from there, the procedure that got skipped was we had focused on the tabulator so that, was this a problem at the tabulator? But we could see zero reports. So we wanted to make sure we could prove that the zero reports really happened, and they really do happen. When we say to zero out a tabulator and clear those test results, it's happening. What we skipped was making sure that the reporting computer had been zeroed out properly. And it was just because we got in a hurry. You know, it's 8 o'clock, got to get those results in. And so having two people there and saying, did you zero that out? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, then before you do anything else, then let's zero that out and reread those and re-enter the results that we pulled from the tabulator. So it's a two-person process, so there's always two people knowing what's going on. And it's something we had done in the past, but because we didn't have enough people in the right spots, there were new people who didn't know that that was what we should have been doing. So it's a learning process, and I can guarantee you that's not going to be a problem in the general.
Right, right. Yeah, human error is always possible anytime there's humans involved. I'm glad that the committee was very gracious as they were
Yes.
observing the recount, and I do like that anytime there is an error, we always know there's room for process improvement, and sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Now we know something that we didn't know that we didn't know, so we can move forward and put it behind us and make some things better for you, for your staff, for the election judges. Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That day of the meeting and all that, I was kind of channel surfing when I come through the door, and there you were. And I want to commend you because I think you did a great job, because what I seen is somewhat of some confusion throughout that committee meeting, because they never have been really been in the trenches. And you were really good at informing them about what might have went wrong, what could go wrong. And like I said, you weren't at that podium for 10 minutes. You were there for quite a while. But like I said, I think that you pretty much took over that committee meeting with your input on it about what, with the problems that you did. And I think that if anything legislatively comes out to make it better, it was because, it happened here. They were interested in getting it fixed. And like I said, kudos to you, because like I said, you weren't there 10 minutes. You were there for quite a while, and you always had an answer. So I think that you did Butte-Silver Bowl a good job, and I just wanted to thank you on that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Linda, I was just curious. This year when we canvassed the election, we did things a little bit different than what we've done in the past. Is the procedure that we do for the canvass and of the election going to be rules that the legislature comes up with, or who chooses how we canvass the election to make sure everything's accurate?
The election administrator does. And what I try to do, because what I tried to do was, in the past, we always focused on the poll books. And the poll books are just one side of the election. It's what's happening on election day for the people who come in to vote. And while I showed the numbers that the poll books had and what the difference was from what we were seeing, those numbers, I think the difference in total was 22 votes, which pretty much lines up to people putting their ballot in the wrong box. There are 31 precincts. So that's, and we usually just focused on just that, and we didn't focus on what was happening with absentees. And while there were things on the numbers that were pointing to these numbers are off, they were still pretty much within the margin that we couldn't really call. One thing we did do was, because these were not under seal, was we went back and counted all the secrecy envelopes. And so we could see that the numbers were different than what we saw on the reporting from election night on the June 4th, because it was 2 a.m. Reports. But it still was, I don't know. And while my intent was, we need to go back and find out what was there, there was so much going on at that particular time that, because I wasn't required to do anything more, it just became not the priority that it should have been.
Follow-up, Commissioner Callahan.
Madam Chair. So that night we canvassed, we were within the margin.
It appeared.
So why did it end up going to a next level? I mean, if we still fell within the margin, it should have been okay. Is that correct?
It should have been, because what we were really focusing on when we did the canvas was the state's post-election audit, where we were looking at not just our overall numbers, but we were looking at that audit that we are required to do for the state. And that audit focuses more on if you were a tabulator, did you see this many votes in this precinct for this particular race? So you weren't looking so much as number of ballots or election results as, did you see 32 votes for this person in this race? And we were within the margin, and we could say, and because when we do that audit, I cannot open all of the ballots. I can only open the ballots for that particular precinct. So it's, well, I don't know, we don't have enough ballots here. Well, it's really possible that those ballots got wrapped with the wrong precinct, which is another thing we are changing. I changed it so, moving into the general, so that we aren't placing, after we've counted ballots, that we aren't going back to a table and placing them in stacks. All those ballots stay back in the tabulation area, because that's how they counted them. We're putting the batch number that the tabulator associates with it, and they're all in precinct order anyway. So leave them there and don't go put them in another stack where the chance becomes bigger that it gets in the wrong stack. So that's why we were going, well, we can't open those. We can't open these ballots. We can't go open another precinct to see if they got mixed up. So we can only see so much.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. Linda, thank you for coming with the explanation tonight. I know I was stressed when the news broke, and so I can't even fathom how you and your office felt. But I just wanted to give you a shout out, because I think it's a true testament to your leadership that you, especially during a time with election integrity and everything going on with elections across the country, that you could take a step back and say, hey, something is awry here, and you can say, we made these mistakes, we've addressed these mistakes, we're moving forward. So I just want to give credit to you and your leadership in that office, and I hope that you know that it will be sorely missed in the years coming. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners? I would just like to close by saying, as Ms. Sager-Joyce is almost pleading for people to sign up to be election judges. I used to be an election judge. I was an election judge for many years. I worked many elections with you. I hadn't been for the last few elections. I signed up again. I'll be there on election day so I can be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. I would encourage any of the commissioners, if you can get away even for a short shift. I signed up for the full day, but if you can get away, please do. I would call on the businesses of Butte-Silver Bow. If you offer community service days to your employees, please encourage them to use them to serve as an election judge. If you don't offer community service days, please consider paying your employees to serve as election judges. It's so important that we fill from the bottom. There are a lot of people there who have been there for a very long time, and they can't do this forever. So I really want the community to hear me. I want the universe to hear me, to rain down election judges for this general election.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item number 3, communication number 2024-457. Kelly Hazlett, Tibbet Tourism Director, requesting Council Commissioners concurrence to schedule a presentation of the Butte-Silver Bow Tourism Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget on September 25th, 2024, and to schedule a public hearing on October 2, 2024.
Okay, perfect.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself, name and address for the record.
My name is Kelly Hazlett. I'm the new director of tourism here in Butte. My address for work is 1000 George Street here in Butte, Montana. My personal address is 1155 Louis Shawn, Butte, Montana.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Kelly Hazlett. As I just told you, I'm the new director of tourism. With me is Stephanie Serini, who is our executive director of the chamber, and also the head of our TBID, our chair, Steve Lubick. I have just become part of this position 4 months ago, so they might be taking more of your questions than I will. First off, I want to show you how I am funded. To make this easier for everybody going forward to know that I have 2 funding sources and I have 2 boards. I have the Convention and Visitor Bureau, which is the CVB. That is through state funding. That's at 4% tax on lodging and entities. Right now, I receive approximately $195,000. Along with that is our Tourism Business Improvement District, our TBID. It's funded through Butte from hotel bed tax. Right now it's at $1 per guest room per night, and that is approximately $260,000. So let's kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it. What my funding streams can and cannot do. We can do promotion, marketing, support, fund projects to increase hotel occupancy. Good examples of this is the Covalite is going to have a film festival. The TBID through the grant program funded to support some of that advertising for the heads and beds. However, we can't do brick and mortar projects. What does that mean? I can't build a building. I can't put up any structures. I can only do things that are marketing through paper, digital, and other ways. There was a bill that came through, a grant that came through that was focused on relighting the headframes, and we were able to fund it because it's an icon, and it markets our town to other people as they come through at night. I mean, when you see the headframes when you're coming home, it's just the best sight on the planet. The basics of TBID funding. So just a basic understanding, what we try to do is we increase visitors and people visiting Butte and put heads in beds, meaning that we occupy our hotels, Airbnbs, and other entities that don't have to go through the tax. But we get this tax from the hoteliers that are assigned to our area, which is Butte-Silver Bow. We assist in promoting events and promotion of existing events. Our folk festival, we funded $20,000 of that event, and it was a very big hit, as it always is. Maybe we had a little bit less people because of the weather. However, it definitely shows that we are very invested in the community. The TBID has 2 funding cycles. We have one in winter, one in summer. This summer, we have spent the most money we have on grants, and that was $182,000, funding everything from what we heard from 4-H, the county fair. We funded the relighting. We funded the Covalite on different projects. We also did the wall that heals. We gave substantially for that project. So just kind of giving you an idea of things that you have seen that are reflected through this money. Administration. So we're going to go into my work plan. I kind of made it quick and easy for everybody. Administration, salary for myself and portion of the Visitors Information Center comes out of the TBID along with the CVB. What we're asking for the TBID is $50,000. Events and tournaments, we are spending more money on events, so $65,000. Meetings and groups, so obviously people coming in for conferences, etc. We do support and give out bags and information for that, for those kinds of events. Mostly, we don't do bags, we do the information on my part. And that's costing us about $26,000. Leisure, which is not work travel of any related to work, it's all personal travel, is $39,000. We have festivals, which as you heard, the Montana Folk Festival was $20,000 overall that we gave to them. Special projects are large projects where funds come from the community, businesses and grants and fundraising, which is around $50,000. And our reserve, which we like to keep a little padding in there, is $25,000. That's the end of my presentation. I am happy to take as many questions as I can, and if not, my chair or Stephanie would be happy to visit with you.
Thank you, Ms. Hazlett, for the information. We always enjoy hearing about the T-bid and the goings-on. Could you expand a little bit more? I just have a question on number 4, the leisure. You said that's promotion of personal travel. Can you just explain what does that mean? Who's traveling and who's receiving the benefits of that, and why are they traveling?
So when you think leisure travel for anywhere around here, we're thinking about the parks. However, a lot of the people that come through Butte do not fly into here. They drive through here to get to another park or another place to go, and then they stop here and they realize how much we have to offer, from historical tours, trolley tours, the World Museum of Mining with their underground tours. They end up spending the day with us. So a lot of leisure travel, we've seen a lot of people traveling from park to park or from Missoula to Bozeman, and they stop in Butte, and they end up staying for a little longer, which we appreciate. If they don't stay in Butte-Silver Bow, we want them to continue to spend their money here in Montana.
Right, that's great. So who receives that money?
Who receives that money?
Yeah.
That might be a Steve question.
Thank you, Steve. If you would come up and give your name and address for the record.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, my name for the record is Steve Lubeck, Chairman of the Butte Tourism Business Improvement District. I live here at 17 Queens Court in Butte. Leisure travel segment is, as she explained, is that we're trying to capture and retain tourists that are in the area to stay here rather than in a competing community. So the way this year we spent about $75,000 in this category. $22,000 of it was spent on production of 14 video advertisements and 1 3-minute promotional video for Butte. And then we spent $55,000 deploying those video ads across a variety of television, internet, social platforms.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, welcome.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kelly, good job. I know this stuff is a little nerve-wracking at first, so good job. So a couple questions. I won't ask the obvious one just yet. Kelly touched on we are trying to capture people that don't fly into Butte. Mr. Luke, obviously you know I sit on the Air Service Development Committee, and so I'm constantly pushing this. So I guess, do you have any ideas? I guess, is there a plan? I mean, $75,000 in my mind is a lot of money. Firstly, we'll touch on that. So $75,000 in the advertising. I know that you guys granted money to the Burt Mooney Airport for advertising as well, so I appreciate that. Do we have results from that? Is there a number that we can see that money was spent usefully?
Mr. Lubeck.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, results, I could give you a full presentation on what those ads are. In fact, I think if you haven't seen them through your own social channels, it would be good for the council to see those videos, including the 3-minute promotional video that recently was released just last week and will be on the Visit Butte website, if it isn't there already, in the coming days. For results, yeah, I can show you that the advertisements have reached over 1 million people since January of last year. We're deploying those primarily to out-of-state markets, Seattle, Spokane, Portland, Eugene, Oregon, Boise, Salt Lake City, primary targets of where those are going. So is that what you're looking for?
Commissioner Thatcher, follow up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Mr. Lubeck, thank you. I appreciate that. So I guess if we're going to spend that money to get people to come here, I still, and I will have probably the same thought. I guess I don't understand why we don't invest in spending more money to get people to fly in and out of Butte when we have the opportunity. And I realize that it's part of a plan that the TBID board wants, and they want a contract in place and all of that. If anybody, I can touch on that more if people are wondering. But I guess wouldn't that be a wise investment? I mean, if we're going to spend $75,000 to capture out-of-state markets, wouldn't it be a wise investment to collect a tax from people that are staying in our hotels to then turn around and spend it at our airport to get more people to fly in and out of Butte?
Thank you, Commissioner Thatcher. Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, member of the council, we are sitting on $200,000 of reserve money for the airport, for the airline guarantee. We funded $15,000, I believe was the number in January, for an airline consultant that was supposed to be helping the airport with recruitment of additional flights. They came to us during the July session and asked for marketing funds. Kelly, am I correct that was $50,000? $25,000. And we were there last week helping them. I personally was there with my family, and frankly, we were the only ones there other than Kelly who showed up to help them produce their ads. So we're not only putting money in the game, I'm putting my personal time in the game. I'd like to see more people step up, frankly, from the airport. You know, could have used additional models. We had 2 days, 2 sessions of video shoots at the airport. First day got canceled because airport personnel didn't have the schedule straight. They conflicted with the flight. Everyone had to turn around and leave. Day 2, it was me, my 2 kids, and Kelly were the only ones that showed up for the video shoot. It's not the TBID's responsibility to produce the ads and provide the models. We provide the funding. Airport's going to have to step up and actually decide what they want to do in terms of an advertising campaign. If it's a priority for them, then they have to act like it's a priority for them.
Thank you, Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly agree. So I guess that brings me to my next point is the airport board member, one of them, had an event a couple weeks ago at Butte Brewery, in which we were hoping that some of the TBID board members would be able to make it, and unfortunately they weren't able to. So I guess, I mean, I understand that the marketing is on us, and you're funding that. I appreciate that for sure. But I'm more worried about getting the flights in and out of Butte, not marketing specifically, because like I've said before, if we're marketing something in Butte-Silver Bow that we can't market, like right now we don't have great flight times, I'm not sure what exactly we should be marketing. So I guess more of my concern would be to obtain another flight in and out of Butte, Montana. And so, I mean, I still am stuck on, and I think a lot of the other commissioners are too, is this dollar amount. We had this presentation from the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce last week that they're talking about raising it up to $5 for the purpose of air service, or to help air service. And I guess I would hope, or maybe I can ask you to explain to full council maybe what you've explained to me as to why, or your reservations, or the TBID's reservations as to raising that dollar amount. Thank you.
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, this is the perennial question that every year I approach here at the council, I have to address this issue. And I just point out again that we've been sitting on $200,000 for airport recruitment for a number of years, and so far there's been no development. It's not on the TBID to recruit the flight. It's on, I guess, the airport and the consultant that we funded to bring those airlines to Butte, and then to provide a number. And when we know that number, then we can begin to say what we need to raise. When we started this, we thought the number was somewhere around $400,000. Now, last time I'd heard, the number is somewhere around $1 million. And yet there's still no, as far as I know, no outside of the air service that we're getting from the government Essential Air Program, there haven't been any takers. So if there's going to be an actual airline and an actual request, then that's something we can do. We're working our way through a surplus in our TBID accounts. We bring in, as you see, $260,000 as a projection for this year. We have $500,000 in the bank that we're continuing to work through, of which $200,000 of it is already there for the airport. So we're trying to bring that down. There's just no point in raising the tax at this point and creating yet a larger surplus.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lubick. I don't necessarily disagree with you, honestly, but it's a chicken and the egg thing. So we can't pursue additional flights because we don't have the funds. And I 100% agree with you. It's not solely on the T-bid. We all just realize, and I think the T-bid itself realizes, what a great resource you guys can be to recruit these. And it's not only a benefit for just regular Butte-Silver Bow Joes, but it's a great benefit for hoteliers who can get these people on and off the planes and staying in their hotels. Maybe you disagree, I'm not sure. But in my mind, and this is where I can't grasp it, is this isn't a tax on Butte-Silver Bow people. This isn't a tax on your hotel. This is a tax on individuals that are staying outside or coming in from outside of Butte-Silver Bow. They are paying this tax that then gets passed through. So why are we so holding back against allowing other people, visitors, to help pay for things that would greatly and positively impact Butte?
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, I wouldn't say that it's an objection to just raising the tax. When a guest is looking to stay in a hotel, they're looking at the total rate. They're not looking at just, there's a push in this country about fees, generally speaking. You hear it, Congress is looking at it in terms of like disclosure of what the total price of the stay is. It's not just, our hotel room might be $199 a night. Then we have an 8% bed tax on top of that raises it. We have in Butte, we have a $1 nightly tax. So it raises the total cost. So it's not as simple as, it's only $1, it's only $2, it's only $10. It comes down to what is that total price. I mean, for instance, hotels frequently set their rates at $199 to stay under the $200 threshold. When you throw an 8% tax, you're throwing in $16 on top of that. So you're breaking that $200 threshold. So it's not a hard and fast objection to the tax. From the T-bid's perspective and from the hotel's perspective, I would say what I've said in years past. If the commission has a specific thing that they would like us to be doing, we'll take that under advisement. Again, the T-bid tax is a somewhat complicated creature because it required a vote of the hotels to impose it in the first place. Once it's been imposed, it's up to the governing body to determine that rate, and that's you folks. So you guys have that authority to change that rate should you decide you want to. But I certainly, as the chairman, I'm only going to be chairman for 6 more months, so you're not going to have me up here to throw me under the bus on this issue for like the 7th or 8th time. But if you had a specific request, it would make it easier for us to do. I mean, we have been grossly under-requested in the prior years, and that's why we built the surplus. This year, we had a significant uptick in the number of requests, and we were able to bring that surplus down.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Mr. Lubick. And I don't mean to throw you under the bus. I just am just at this point where I just feel like it. But one last question. So if we have a surplus, are we funding requests at a full amount or no?
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, member of the council, it depends. I mean, a lot of them do get funded. Some of them get outright rejected. We had one this year that we would like to have funded, but they were actually in the outskirts of Whitehall in Jefferson County, and the bylaws just don't require it. Even though there are some benefits to Butte-Silver Bow in terms of tourism because of the way the county lines fall and the way our bylaws, we weren't able to fund it. So some of them get funded at full, some of them get funded partially. We take a hard look at like they're required to give us a budget that shows what they're expending it. If they're already generating significant profits, we will sometimes not contribute or contribute a lesser amount. Nonprofits tend to get a stronger share of what the request is. If something looks like it's not going to be pretty borderline and not going to pencil out, like this year the Folk Festival came to us with an additional request because things were tight for them, we'll increase it in certain cases.
Thank you, Mr. Lubick. I just have a follow-up on that. A surplus is a good thing to have, but also that means that there's money that could be circulating within the community. How do you market yourselves to the community so they know and understand how to apply, when the deadlines are, and do you offer any assistance when they request?
We can. So, Madam Chairman, member of the council, yes, we do legal notices as required. We do. During the January session, Stephanie had a significant social presence just announcing that the bids We're going to be looking at an open grant window in the month of January. We have lists of people who've applied in years past, and we reach out directly to them, let them know that we're coming up on either a July or a January application window. So we do significant outreach. And we did have a significant uptick this year in terms of number of applications we got.
Okay. Have you thought about anything else? Like, what would you recommend if I was a business asking, like, how do I increase more? I'm doing social media marketing, I'm doing legal notices, and I'm calling my existing call list. What would you advise me to do to get more outreach?
Madam Chairman, members of the council, are you asking me in terms of how we, in terms of announce to the community the availability of funds? Is that your question?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
Well, I don't know what else we can do. I mean, like I said, when you put it out on social, you're broadcasting to a wide market of people. So there's your really large net. The small net being the number of people, or I guess the smallest net would be the legal notices, the people that actually take the paper and read the fine print in the back of the paper. And then we, again, are reaching out directly to people who have applied in the past. We're certainly open to suggestions if you or others think we're missing out on something.
Okay, I'm not criticizing. It's the age-old question, like, how do you lead the horse to water and make it drink? And I think it's great that there's money available, and hopefully, the few people who are playing bingo tonight and watching the meeting are listening and understanding that there's some funding out there. Commissioner O'Neill. Good. Okay.
Thank
Commissioner
you,
O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for the presentation. Appreciate it. Good job. You'll get less nervous. It was kind of crazy not having, oh my God, I just forgot her name. Maria, yeah. She's Miss Porcevina, yeah. You did a better job than, hopefully Maria's listening, you did a way better job than she did. I guess my only thing on the $2 thing, and this is where we can talk about a lot of money here. We have enough money, but my whole thing is that we're the only AA city that charges $1 for hotels. I don't even know what that means. Maybe I take offense to that just because I'm like, well, we go to Bozeman and they're charging. I don't even know what they're charging. That's my thing. I only care what we charge, right? But again, repeating myself, I don't even know what that means in theory. Why I take offense of, well, God dang it, why can't we charge more? To spend more, to have more money when blah, blah, blah. So I could educate myself more to that, but I feel like Butte, Montana, we're last at so many things. And here we are, again, on one of these things. We're last at raising the dollar on the hotel thing. Again, that is no offense on any of the TBID things or nothing. It's just, it is what it is. It's always been my question. You guys have funded a lot of great things. Have a great board. It's a great thing, but it's maybe childish on my part to say that, God dang it, I want more money out of that. Other people stay at the hotels, and it's just a conversation. And again, I appreciate all you guys do, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Steve, and your group that came tonight. We appreciate you. I just want to speak I'm on the Civic Center board, and you guys without you guys, we wouldn't bring half the tournaments that we bring to Butte and the events that come to Butte. And I just think you guys need a pat on the back for that much. You've been very generous on helping the Civic Center get events here and stuff. But in the last year, you guys have kind of changed some stuff and partnered with the Advantage Butte. Could you explain to me how that partnership is working? I know we at the Civic Center used to deal with both of yous, and we did really good with you guys, and then now we kind of feel we're going through a middleman. And is that working all right, or what should we be concerned, or is everything good?
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chair, member of the council. So yes, what we did in the last year was we basically are putting Advantage Butte in the lead on that. We're handing them off $25,000 a year up front, and then we will also reimburse them for additional funds that they need to recruit tournaments. So in a sense, nothing in terms of what the Civic Center is going to see in terms of funding is going to change. It's just going to be directed through Advantage Butte. And the reason we did that was because some grants, and not Civic Center, but other entities, because this is an events and tournaments type thing, so it includes things like baseball and track and swim and golf tournaments. We're applying to the TBID And without us being aware of it, they were also applying to Advantage Butte, and they were essentially double dipping. And because they weren't aware of everything we were doing and we weren't aware of everything they were doing, we both agreed that it would be better to centralize that with either one or the other. And so Advantage Butte wanted to take the lead on that because they historically have been here longer than the T-bid. And frankly, tournaments we don't have the expertise that Advantage Butte does in tournaments. So what we did is we decided to put them in the lead. It was a mutual decision between the two boards to put Advantage Butte in the lead. And we give them $25,000 up front each year. And then as they recruit additional tournaments that exceed that $25,000 amount, we have an agreement to reimburse them up to the limits of our overall events and tournament budgets. So it's in the first year. How's it working? Hasn't been much going on because we're still clearing the decks from the things that we committed to. This year's tournament was committed to by the T-bid, so we paid those things out. I think some of the tournaments for next year are also on the T-bid, and we'll be paying those things out. Now, the Advantage Butte is going forward, so like 26 and 27 tournaments is where we'll really see how that's going to work, because then they will be paying those things up front, and they'll be applying to us for reimbursements on those tournaments. I think it's going to be fine.
Commissioner Callahan, follow up.
Thank you. Well, and I think the problem Bill's having with this, which is Mr. Melvin, is the Civic Center manager, is we have to bid these tournaments 2 years out.
Yep.
And when we bid a tournament 2 years out and you guys give them $25,000 up front, you're never going to get a tournament if you say we'll bid it for $25,000. So that's where his concern is he has to have some idea whether you guys will give Advantage Butte the money to bid it higher to where we can get the tournament. And I think that's where our problem's coming in, is it's really making Bill in a difficult position to bid a tournament, thinking they only have $25,000 to work with up front.
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, I can assure Bill and the Civic Center and the council that this is business as usual. Okay. There's going to be no changes here. I mean, the agreement requires $25,000 up front, but it also requires us to reimburse them up to the limits of our annual budget. So they can go ahead, if Bill comes to them with and Bill has in prior years, come to the T-bid with a couple of $25,000 tournaments, and we funded both. So long as that's within the limits of our budgets, Advantage Butte can do that under the agreement that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lubick. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Shea. Thank you, Mr. Lubick. I agree with what you're saying, and I was personal friends with Maria for many years, and we talked about it a lot. And the commission always wants to raise the bed tax, and I kind of agree with you on that it's up to the commission to bring your board a plan on how they want to spend the money to put heads in beds. So that's something I've advocated for to help try to figure out something that we could propose to your board that would help do that. My concern is we're sitting on money. You said almost $1 million, I think you said, or something. You have in reserve.
$500,000 at the moment.
$500,000, whatever. The thing that concerns me is, here we want more money as commissioners, but yet we can't spend the money we have. And I think between the T-bid and the council, or whoever has to do this, we've got to come up with a plan to find the best way to spend that money to get heads in beds. And as you know, we don't have the Grizzly Stadium. We don't have Bobcat Stadium. We don't have a lot of things like that. We've got to think outside the box and get a little creative here. And I've said it many, many times before in personal meetings we've had. If we want to raise the bed tax, we've got to show how we can spend it and put heads in beds. And I told you before with Maria and Mr. Lubick, they're willing to meet with us. If we can show them that we can put heads in beds and spend the money that we have, they'll do it. If that airport money's sitting there, that's been a long hope for short dough for a long time. Maybe it's time, we spend that money on something a little more proactive and try to get something done. I mean, we're not going to buy an airline to come in here without a little subsistence from the federal government or, somebody coming in. It's a big ball here we're looking at, but I think right now what we got to do is we got to find a way for the Butte-Silver Council Commission Chief Executive to find a way to work with the T-bid to see how we can spend that money and put heads in beds. And there's a medium point there, just like every negotiation. And I think it's time we find it here in this, going into the winter months where we need it. So I thank you being here, and I hope we can work together to make something happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Steve, for being here. That kind of leads into my question. What other, so if, like you say, Butte is only charging the $1 fee per head and bed, and then we are, I know Helen is charging $2, they're talking about going to $5, and all these other AA communities, I'm not quite sure. What are these other communities doing with their money? Do they have more events? Are they banking it? Or do you have any ideas that you can share with us, or what they're doing with their funds?
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, members of the council. Well, some of these Billings and Bozeman, for instance, have staff of 5 and 10 people. I mean, take just a salary of, say, $50,000 times 5 people, that'd eat up our entire budget. And what are they doing with it? Frankly, I don't know what they're doing with it. I think the addition of our marketing campaign is probably one of the things they've been doing that we have not been doing. And so we produced those ads in January through May and began putting them out there, starting with 1 ad or 2 ads in January and February, building up to 14 by the time we got to May. We plan to spend another $55,000 on that between now and January. Marketing, I imagine all you people have seen these ads in some form, but they are showing the centerpieces of Butte, the tourism attractions, the Museum of Mine, the Copper King Mansion, the trolley rides. It reaches out beyond into like Virginia City and the Big Hole River and others. So what it does is it promotes the community as a stay-over location. I think one of the things I found frustrating was the fact that how far Butte and the tourism was in terms of having media assets that were readily available to be deployed. It was most obvious to me during COVID, during the shutdowns, when you started to see ads pop up on social media in Kalispell and Bozeman saying, now's not time to come, but when time to travel returns, here's all these great things you should be thinking about. Bozeman and Kalispell could respond like that. Butte didn't have it. We didn't have the assets ready. We didn't have the development relationships. And I think that's what we're beginning to build into, is to develop that library of media that we can be responsive and agile like these other communities. I think that's where a lot of their funds are going.
Thank you, Steve. Good input.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to have to disagree with Commissioner Fisher again tonight. We have a surplus of money because we have $200,000 for the airport because COVID hit. We can't pursue flights because they're much more expensive than $200,000. It isn't a federal subsidy that would bring it in. It's something that we would have to pay for. We're already on a federal subsidy with our essential air service, so that's how that is. And furthermore, Mr. Lubick just said that we're not funding things at 100%, and not that everything should be funded at 100%, because some projects probably shouldn't. But if the cash is there and we're worried about spending it, maybe we should let go of it too, is where I'm at. And Mr. Lubick probably is going to be like, you're crazy, you're wrong, I get it. But Mr. Lubick, a question for you. So you talked about how the commission, this body, sets that rate and has the authority to set that rate. In the event the council proposed, say, a $2 or a $1 increase up to $2 in this upcoming resolution to set it for next year, how would the T-bid react? Because obviously we want to maintain a positive, healthy relationship with the T-bid. But if your only concern is, hey, the council sets that amount, where's your stance on that?
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, we work for you. We're appointed by the chief executive and we're confirmed by the council. So in a sense, it doesn't matter what the T-bid thinks. What matters is what the individual hoteliers think. And I kind of went down this path earlier that I kind of splintered off and didn't complete my thought. But so the legislature authorized tourism business improvement districts, which threw the onus on the individual hotels to decide whether or not they wanted to be taxed, and required 60% vote of the hotels based on the square footage of the property. So a larger property had more influence in the vote than a smaller property. So working through the logic of the council, so you are the governing body. You choose to set this at 2, 5, or 10, that's within your authority and discretion, you can do that. And we'll collect it, and we'll either build a surplus or we'll find new ways to deploy it. And if you decide to raise it, we would certainly like some guidance from the council as to what you'd like us to do with that money. Like I said, we're sitting on $200,000 for the airport. It's earning interest, but it's not doing anything to bring people to Butte today. Going back to how does the TBID react? Well, like I said, we work for you. We'll do the work that you assign us to do. The question is, how do the hotels react? Because they can vote no confidence on that, and the entire tourism business improvement district essentially will sunset. And the last time the commission proposed raising it to 2, we polled the hotels, and we did not have even a 50% majority support for that. So that's the risk you take. Do I think that's likely to occur if you raise it $1? Probably not, but I can't guarantee you how that's going to turn out.
Commissioner Thatcher.
That was the answer I was looking for, was wondering about. But I guess wouldn't the hoteliers look and say that negatively impacts us just as much as it negatively impacts the entire community?
I don't know. You know, I think hotels get tired of being the tax collection agency. You know, I operate Fairmont Hot Springs Resort. I'm paying $200,000. I'm collecting $200,000 a year in bed tax for the state, and I'm collecting about $35,000 for the county. It's kind of annoying to see my property tax bill go from $175,000 to $210,000 with the addition of the TBID stuff. I think that's what hoteliers get tired of, is why are we the collection mechanism for state and county governments? I mean, you should collect your own taxes.
That's allowed by legislation, I would add. Commissioner Thatcher.
And thank you, Madam Chair. I can understand that frustration, but again, I still think it would negatively impact everybody involved if the TBID was to say sunset. So I guess, is this something that you would prefer, or the TBID or the hoteliers would prefer that we get together on beforehand, so it's not a surprise to everybody if the council just says, hey, we're raising this up $1, or, you know, we want, or at least myself, you know, I can't speak for everyone up here, but I want to be considerate of everybody involved. I realize that you guys are a great asset to our community, but I think that just like the airport, I think we can all do more, and I think that taxing people that are coming into our community and not having to tax our actual residents here is a great way to help things move on in our community.
Thank you, Commissioner Thatcher. Would you like to respond?
Madam Chairman, members of the council, this is an issue that comes up before the TBID board every time we meet, so it would not come as a surprise to us, you know, the 7 members of our board, if you were to increase the tax rate. The hoteliers might be a little bit surprised because not every one of them is represented on the TBID board. But it is an ongoing issue, an ongoing conversation within the TBID on this rate, than the pressure we've seen from the council in the past. And again, I'll just repeat what I said before. You're the governing body. You have that discretion. If that's what you choose to do, then we will manage what we receive.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you once again. And, you know, being a business owner, I agree that, you know, we got to work together on this because, you know, they do have a right to sunset this if you get too greedy up here. I'm just telling you. There's a point here that as a business owner, you get tired of, you know, you don't want to collect taxes for the county. They already pay property taxes in excess amount. They're taxed by the state. And I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth here. I'm just telling you that we've got to come up with a proposal to bring to them people that we all can agree upon. It's not up to them to bring us a proposal and say, hey, raise my taxes from $1 to $2, or raise it from 1 to 3. It's up to us to go to them and say, hey, we can do something, make this turn around. And this is what I've been talking about for 3 or 4 years here. This is our job to do this if we want to do it. And it's not their job to come to us. I mean, 7 people on the board, you get 4 votes. It's just like up here. You know how it works. Let's sunset the darn thing and be done. We won't collect any more money for you. It's a volunteer tax that the hotelers are willing to use. I mean, I can't reiterate that enough every time we talk about this subject. Let's bring them guys a plan, tell them why we want to raise it. Let's cut the airport out of this for a while and talk about putting heads in beds in Butte. We don't have a real good promotion around here for anything like they do in Missoula, Bozeman, or any of them other areas where they're bringing in like Pink and they're bringing in, where they get $400 a night for rooms. We don't have that availability right now. We've got to think outside the box and make this happen. And the only way it's going to happen is if we as commissioners put our heads together, maybe get a board or committee, and bring something to these people, and I think they'll go along with it. But don't try to sell me a box of rocks and for an extra $1, because it ain't going to happen in business today. It just don't happen.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Shea. Thank you very much for being here today, Mr. Lubick. I apologize because I was kind of pushing this a few years ago to increase it, and I think a few years ago we had better leverage and better opportunities to move forward with some of this, and since COVID hit, I just don't see that happening. Recently, I've been doing more traveling the last few years than I have in a long time. And the one thing I've noticed, going back and forth to Seattle quite a bit, is where I stay in Seattle, usually it's about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive to get to the airport, to get over to SeaTac. For me to leave my front door here in Butte to get to Bozeman is less time than that. I can make it, and there's not really any traffic congestion. Most of the people traveling into Montana from a major metropolitan area, an hour and a half drive on the Montana highway system is going to be a piece of cake compared to 2 hours driving through downtown Denver or Seattle or Los Angeles or Houston. Just a few of the places I've been in and out of in the last few years that have been a lot more busy. I honestly, I would love to see the Butte Airport thrive and survive and do an awful lot better, but everything that I've seen says it's not happening, at least anytime in the near future. And it's nice that that money is there, but it could probably be spent elsewhere. You could find another person or two and help push forward ideas that would increase the tourism. I don't know if partnering with other communities like Madison County, they wouldn't really be able to do this by themselves, but maybe with Silver Bow and Beaverhead and other counties. I don't know the regulations with all of that. It's something you might know a lot better than I. But if we do want to raise this, and I could see good points in raising it, but we're not getting a lot of the AA tournaments anymore. We're not getting a lot of the A tournaments. We're getting a lot of B and C and a few of the AA. It seems to me when I was a kid in high school, it seemed like there was a lot more of the A and AA tournaments in Butte, and maybe I'm just imagining things, but it seems that way to me. But we don't have the shopping that we used to. We don't have a lot of the others. I think a lot of the schools and other communities have a lot more to offer. And I think before we try to compete with those, we need to realize that we're not really on that same level and that same platform anymore. We can get there again, and we're moving in the right direction, but we're not there right now. And I'd really caution this body before we think about raising this up any, is that you can't just say, hey, give us more money or do more. If the people aren't coming and asking for the money, it's not your fault that people aren't coming forward to you. Could you advertise a little bit better? Maybe. Could they ask for a little bit better or put in better projects? They should. I look at some of the projects that we get with the economic mill levy, and it's the same group over and over again, and a couple really bizarre programs that just kind of leave me scratching my head, like you were saying earlier. So if we do want to raise this, and we do have an idea of what we can do to improve this and push Butte forward, then I'd be all in favor of it. I'm sure the hotels would be all in favor of it. I'm sure the board would be all in favor of it. But just to say we need more money for whatever reason isn't really a good reason. If you want more airplane flights, I would love it. I think it'd be a great opportunity. But we're competing against the largest airport in the state of Montana. That's an hour down the road, so it's going to be a tough competition. So I think we really need to look and prioritize what our ideas are moving forward and come up with a strong plan before we make any positions. Like Commissioner Fisher said, Commissioner Thatcher will disagree with him, but I'll 100% support him today, which is a rarity. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. So I'll be right for part of the day today, and really caution this body, if you want something, put together a plan, come up with something, talk to these groups that can use the money, find a plan, find a budget for it, and help them with it, and then come to the body to do that. But as it stands now, I don't see any real reason to do so. So thank you very much for your presentation. And if you wanted to spend more of that $200,000 for advertising and everything, I think you'll get a lot more bang for your buck. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening.
Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With all due respect, we do get big tournaments in here, so I don't know where that came from. But secondly, if we want to talk about not being able to compete with bigger communities, their bed tax is much higher than ours. So if we want to get these things, we've got to do something about it. And here's a solution. Mr. Lubick, could you please explain to me, so if this is increased to $2, how does that impact like the paperwork process or the process at the hotels? Like, is it additional workload? Because you already have the processes in place, as I understand, with the dollar. So how does it, genuinely curious, how does it impact the workload if it's increased to $2?
Mr. Lubick.
Madam Chairman, members of the council, there'd be a one-time change in the software to make it happen. Sometimes that's something that can be done at the property level. Sometimes that has to be done through the software provider. I imagine the council would make it effective on a 60-day or 90-day lead time that would allow adequate time to get those in place. And then it would just be on autopilot the way it is right now.
Thank you, Mr. Lubick. Commissioner O'Neill, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify one thing that Commissioner Fisher said, that he wanted to get a committee together for this, form a committee. I just wanted to make sure that was put on record, because how much you like the committees, okay? And I just wanted to make sure that was, I'm not saying it's not a bad idea, okay? I just wanted to reference that very highly. Thank you, Mr. Fisher, for saying that. Also, that was the only thing I was going to say on that. And again, please note, this is all a whole positive thing to make Butte better. It's probably taken as that, oh my God, the T-bids, what are you guys doing? We want the other, please don't take it that way. It's all for the better of Butte and better for, and if we're able to get the extra money to make it better, that's the whole idea. And also for the record too, please do not listen to, I think Commissioner Anderson is in a bad mood tonight and he's tired. I hope that when you're in Seattle talking about Butte, Montana, you don't talk about it like you just did here, Commissioner Anderson. There's a lot more going on in Butte, Montana than you just perceive that who's ever listening to us tonight. Please note that. I'm definitely calling you out there because Butte's not as bad as you just put it. So please, when you go to Seattle and you're in the hospital and stuff, pump it up a little bit, will you, for me? Thank you for your time. Again, thank you guys again for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. I want to thank everybody for their comments and concerns, and I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Thank you. Thank you for fielding all the questions and getting Kelly ready for what to expect in the future. One thing I do know is that we all want the same thing. And so that's half the battle, right? So we all want the same thing. We just need to figure out a way to get her done, as you say in Butte, Montana. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kelly, please don't get discouraged and quit. You only come before us once a year. Okay, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment. So I think the TBID was created by the state of Montana, and the guidelines are pretty broad, and then I think it was passed by Butte-Silver by resolution, so the resolution really states on what the money can be used for by Butte-Silver. So I wonder if the guidelines can be reviewed and changed so it might give more help to some of these other people, and that'd be something this body would be able to look at by maybe reviewing with the county attorney and reviewing back past history to see exactly what was written in the resolution and if it can be changed.
Thank you, Mr. Sorich. Mr. Lubick, I'll give you the last word.
Well, we're doing our best at the T-bid level. We think we've made great progress here in the last year in terms of bringing down that surplus. I think the addition of the leisure campaign, people don't, even though we've reached 1 million people, it takes some repetition. It takes some time. And we're committed to see this through for the next couple of years, and I think we're going to see some long-term results from all of that. So, thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Commissioner Reardon would like to have the last word.
The last word.
And then we'll move on.
The last word is, I want to thank you for all your service on this committee and what you've done with it. And, at least we have some money. We could be a couple $100,000 in the hole. So something must have done right. So I just want to thank you and wish you, I don't know if you're retiring or whatever, but thank you for
So let me clarify that, Madam Chairman, members of the council. So the bylaws require you can not serve more than 2 consecutive terms, which I've already exceeded as chairman. So I'm going to be out of that chairman's role in January or February of next year. And I believe Paul O'Rourke will be the new chairman. I'm up for reappointment next year, and I probably will seek reappointment, but I won't be serving as a chairman.
Great, thank you very much. Again, thank you guys for being here tonight, for all the good work you do.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, Communications. Item number 1, Communication number 2024-393. Angie Mullican, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening for September 25th, 2024 for the screw presses for Metro's wastewater treatment plant. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. I believe that this had an ordeal.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I thought
sorry.
you'd explain that.
This communication, the bid opening date had been rescheduled multiple times, and I think in all the confusion of that, a duplicate communication got introduced. That's item number 6 on tonight's agenda. So we will be just cross-referencing this one and moving forward with the new communication. So Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I would like to cross-reference communication number 2024-393 with communication number 2024-447 and place on file.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to cross-reference Communication 2024-393 with Communication 2024-447 and place on file. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Commissioner Callahan's battery is dead. He votes in the affirmative. Clerk, will you please record the vote?
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion carries. Item number 2, Communication 2024-411, Kelly Katani, MSU Extension, Butte-Silver Bow 4-H Youth Development, and FCS agent requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence for time on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024 agenda for a presentation on the impacts and programming of MSU Extension, Silver Bow County 4-H for the budget year 2023-24 and give a plan for the 2024-25 programs. We had that presentation tonight, so Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I would like to place communication number 2024-411 on file.
There's a motion and a second to place communication 2024-411 on file. Anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? Commissioner Callahan votes in the affirmative. Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay. Or 10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion carries. Item number 3, communication number 2024-437, Linda Sager Joyce, Clerk and Recorder, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to do a brief update to Council on September 25th, 2024, regarding the findings of the recount and discuss possible upcoming legislation that will help future elections, auditing, and canvassing. We heard that presentation earlier, so Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I'd like to place communication number 2024-437 on file.
Motion and a second to place communication 2024-437 on file. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Commissioner Callahan votes affirmatively. Clerk, please record the vote. Please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
Thank you. 10 yea, 0 nay, motion carries. Item number 5, communication, hold on. Item number 4, communication number 2024-457, Kelly Hazlett, TBID Tourism Director, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a presentation of the Butte-Silver Bow Tourism Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget on September 25, 2024, and to schedule a public hearing on October 2, 2024. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I'd like to place communication number 2024-457 on file.
Second. Motion and a second to place communication number 2024-457 on file. Anything on the question? Everyone please vote. Commissioner Callahan votes yea. Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion carries. Item number 5, communication number 2024-446, Angie Mullican, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening for October 9th, 2024 for the LED lighting upgrades for the library. We will hold this until October 9th. Item number 6, communication number 2024-447, Angie Mullican, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to reschedule a bid opening for October 9th for screw presses, solids handling for Metro's wastewater treatment plant. The original bid opening date was September 25th, 2024. We will also hold this until October 9th. Item number 7, communication number 2024-448, Angie Mullican, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a public hearing on October 2nd, 2024 for the sole source of Neptune meters for the meter replacement program. We will hold this until October 2nd. That concludes the agenda items. Moving on to any public comment on any public matter not on the agenda. Not seeing any members of the public left. Commissioner Sorge has an announcement to make.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, recently I got some public comment, and there appears to be some real confusion about the agendas. Again, our agenda is posted every Friday, and it's out there all the time. It's out there online. There is no private agendas. Some people still think we got private agendas that we're working on. I just want to comment, we don't have any private agendas. Everything's there for the public to see and is online with the corresponding communications. So if there's any confusion, I think there's anybody here in this courthouse would be willing to talk to them to try to get it straightened out.
Thank you, Commissioner Sorich. Chief Executive Gallagher would like to say something.
Just saying this on a positive note. Thank you, Chairman Shea, or Madam Chair, sorry, and Commissioners. In Reader's Digest, Butte was named one of 6 of the nicest places in America to live. And so I want people to start recognizing that we have an amazing community, and we're being recognized over and over again. And we're top in Montana to live. And then also we were recognized by Kendall Cotton, of all people, of really taking care of our taxes here in Butte and what this commission has approved. So congratulations to all of you on that. But this is a great place to live, and we got to remember that.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?